Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janel, where I love the fact that you guys tune in every week to see what we have to say around here, because we know parenting is not for the weak. It's a hard not life out here for parenting, and I'm here to tell you every day is still a struggle. Every day is still a challenge. I keep telling y'all, I got these teenagers testing my inner gangster on a daily. I'm not going to talk about them this week, though. I'm going to be good, right? Even though listen, Monday and Tuesday were birthdays, 16 and 18. Wow, yes, 16 and 18. The one that turned 16, he's quiet, he's chill. No issues, no nothing, very quiet. Can't even tell it was his birthday. The one that turned 18, surprisingly, she wasn't like all bucked out. Wow, I'm 18, I'm grown, she ain't do none of that. She just was like, I'm so thankful that I'm 18.
But is that Lizzie?
Yes, she's like, I'm so thankful that I just thank God that I have my own bedroom. She just started going into all this stuff, like, literally went from 17 to like 25 when you just had this revelation of your life. Like, I don't know what it is, but she was like, I thank God that, I have a house. I thank God I have my own bedroom. I thank God I have all these clothes. They may not be clean because I didn't wash them, but I thank God for that. Like, she literally started going down the list, and I just was like, oh yeah, okay.
I love this for you.
Yeah, like I'm thanking God that you understand what's going on around here.
Right.
So that's how it is. But you know what I really wanted to talk about? I want to talk with you, Pam, about it. So tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the power of showing up for ourselves first and for our children second, because honestly, you can't really show up for our children if we can't show up for ourselves. I want to get into that because there's something happened on the news yesterday that I saw that I really want to have the conversation briefly about before we get into all our stuff. Welcome back to the show, Pam.
Thank you for having me.
Pam,
I'm excited.
Last time you was here, we rocked out. I kept saying we gotta get you back, guys. But
yes.
You kept talking about we gotta pull up now.
Definitely, and I had to pull up today.
Thank you for coming back. So listen, I don't know if you saw this, but there was on the news a mother. She had two children, 6 years old and 8 years old, and she went on a cruise and she left her children home.
No.
Yes. So, there was a lot of controversy behind this situation, and a lot of people bashing her, a lot of people saying all types of different things. And one of the things I kind of first seek to understand versus to be understood, because I'm not going to put my mouth on something where I really don't know.
Right.
But the mom, she was a young mom, and she literally went on a cruise and left her 6 and 8 year old. And the way that she was parenting, I call it parenting at sea.
At bay.
At bay, right? I'm like, wow. I'm not in the water parenting. She had cameras in her house. So she was telling them what to do through the cameras. This is how she was communicating with her children while she was out in the water. Way in the water.
Wow.
Listen, Pam.
We don't have a village?
Yo. So I was like, yo, that's crazy. So what happened was the neighbors noticed that the mother wasn't around. And it's a 6 and 8 year old.
Right.
So the neighbors, we got nosy neighbors, which is good. Thank God for them neighbors though, right? Yes. And they called authorities, and when the authorities came in, they said the house was disgusting. Right? So that's questioning some stuff right there. The house was disgusting, and there were the two children. That's crazy. What you think about that?
That just overwhelmed me. Number one.
We're talking about the power showing up, right?
Yes. And it was like you needed that bad that you was willing to put your livelihood at stake, your children's livelihood at stake. That's why I was saying we don't have a village. We couldn't reach out to somebody. Man. Could you help me with these days? So-and-so, can you help me with these days? Mm-hmm. So I can show up for myself because...
Listen, so I'm wondering...
Now you're showing up in court.
Girl, you're showing up under the jail now. Like, for real. So, like... And guess what? So what happened is the children got released into the aunt now. So my question is, where was the aunt? So here it is. I'm wondering, because you just never know what's going on, right? Like, whoa, flag on the play. It takes a village to raise children, and parents in the village too, right? That's my stance. But here it is. I'm wondering, in my mind, trying to rationalize, trying to understand the situation, trying to, all right, kind of do some doses calculation going on here, right?
Right.
I'm wondering, though, because I think it brings shed a light more on, I don't know this particular situation or circumstances, but I do wonder if the village didn't show up for her prior to her going on her cruise, so she felt like she still needed to go. Like, sometimes we say it takes a village to raise children, but sometimes either one, you burnt your village by you having to watch your kids all the time, right? Or two, they just feel like that's not their responsibility. They don't have to show up for you until something bad happens. So I'm wondering, I don't know what kind of life this mom lived,
right?
But I'm just wondering, that begs the question, what really happened? Go ahead, Pam.
Hold on. I'm not even focused on what happened, because that was a thought. So let me stop right there. It was a thought. Did you burn bridges? Mm-hmm. Or, like we said, they said the house was nasty. So if you living like that, how's really your character? Yeah. All right, then I'm thinking, we couldn't take the kids on the cruise?
It costs money, girl.
But they could get babysat on the cruise and all that kind of stuff.
No, right. It's a lot of thoughts.
What really was going on that you booked this trip?
Booked it. It ain't like it happened overnight.
And you didn't have sitters.
You went.
And now the way the world is set up, they have apps. They have different things where you can get someone to assist you with looking after your children.
Maybe she can afford it. But here's the thing, though.
But you can afford this, baby.
Yes. I don't know. I'm not making excuses for it. But I'm wondering, because a lot of times people don't get support in their village, though. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what this young lady was going through, or, is she like me? She got single mom of 4 kids. Well, there was only 2. And she a single mom of 4 kids. She in school full time. She doing this and the other. And she tired. Now, sometimes I do just want to go escape. But I know I can't leave my kids at home. Like, my brain just don't operate like that. But I'm just wondering, because now it's like the authorities found someone to help you. Like, now the aunt, the kids are with the aunt. And I'm like, well, where was the aunt at before? Or where was the village at? The question is, I don't think, she's definitely responsible for this. And not saying that her age is something, because you could be 40 and still be immature. Mm-hmm. But there sounds like there was some immaturity on her part. Yeah. But also, we got to think back generationally, right? Because why do you think this was okay?
To leave the children at home. Have you been left at home by yourself?
She probably was like, I was 8 years old cooking for my sister and my brother. Like, I walked in the school.
And to be honest, that happens.
Yeah.
That does happen. And like years ago, that was okay. Mm-hmm. A lot of things were okay.
I don't think nobody mom went out in the water, though.
That far. That's a bit far. Like, I remember being in, like, me and all my siblings, we were at decent ages. Like, we could all care for ourselves. The oldest were, like, teenagers. Mm-hmm. My mom still sending somebody. My mom and dad would still send somebody to the house. Like, nah, y'all got to stay. Y'all got to stay in-house with them, making sure they go to school, because somebody might not go to school.
Somebody might not. Listen, they barely go to school when I'm in the house. What you talking about? I got to wake them up 20 times.
Right.
Think about if I'm not there.
Yes.
But I keep hearing, this is not even the first time I heard something like this. I don't know if you're aware. I don't watch TV, but, social media stuff pops up, and I get to see different stories, and other parents tell me stories. Like, there are situations where a lot of children are being left at home while their parents or their mom, particularly, it's really a lot of times it's their mom, because we have a lot of single moms, leave their children home while they do A, B, and C. There was another story recently that I read about the young lady. She had a boyfriend, and the boyfriend didn't want kids, but she wanted the boyfriend. So she had her kids were in her apartment by themselves, but she was living across town with the boy, with the man. I don't know, whoever he is, right? So she was living across town with the man, and the kids were at home, and they said she would check in. Another person that had cameras. She had cameras in the house. How you got cameras showing up, but you ain't showing up? That just don't make sense.
Right. Technology done let people take life too far.
The camera's showing up, but I'm not going on the scene.
Wow.
But there's a lot of, there's another one when a mom decided to go to Miami and left the kids at home. So I'm wondering if, again, that really makes me question, where's the village at? 2, some understanding about parenting and our roles and responsibilities.
Right.
So I really wanted to talk about the power showing up, because my scalp is itching because
it has my mind going.
It's scary.
No, it really is. And it's like, so the way that you're showing up for yourself or your children, is it because of the way people did or did not show up for you?
Right.
When you thought people should have showed up for you and they didn't, so now this is how you carry and conduct yourself moving forward?
Yeah. Or you may not even know how to reach out for help. Like, parenting is overwhelming. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that.
No, it is.
Parenting is over, whether you married or single. Parenting, I've been both, y'all. Hello. It is very overwhelming. But I think that's the importance when we talked about, when you were on the show previously, we talked about healing our wounds so that we don't bleed over our children.
Yes.
Because this is what happens. Like, if we don't get ourselves together, we then now have that transaction to our children, right? Mm-hmm. It's transferred to them, and now it becomes like a little situation. I am very concerned about the kids being left at home by themselves at such a young age.
Right.
Like, I mean, never mind the fact that it's illegal, right? But just to think that you really thought a 6 and an 8-year-old, like, you out in the water.
A 6 and 8-year-old.
6 and 8.
Not a teenager.
Nah.
Oh, so speaking of this, so like my sister, like, I love this one thing that she does. So, you know, like, if you're the older sibling, how you was responsible for your younger siblings.
Right.
Like, it wasn't the mom or dad asking you, they're telling you, like, yo, go get them something to eat, or make sure they got their bath, their homework done. My sister literally asks my niece, like, can you go fix your sister's plate? Can you go do this? Mm-hmm. And she gives my niece the privilege to say yes or no.
Right.
And I honor her when she says, oh, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, no, do you know, like, some people don't have this privilege. They literally have to take care of their siblings. And I was like, you're really, like, favored and blessed, because people don't have this opportunity. You say no, you getting in trouble. Like, you got a problem? No, you are. Like, these are your children. And my sister always says, no, I'm not forcing her to do anything, because these are my children, not hers. Right. I appreciate the help. I appreciate the assistance. And it's to the point now, I watch my niece, she'll just, like, initiate stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. So when we go back to where's the village, do your village see what you're going through? Do you allow yourself to be vulnerable? And like you said, so because sometimes you don't have to ask. Right. Sometimes if we humble ourselves and set our pride aside, people will be able to see certain things. Right. But sometimes we so honcho.
Listen,
and
I've been there. Like,
I got it. I don't need nobody doing nothing. So I'm not.
Listen,
I'm not asking you.
We need to stop trying to be the superhero. I'm telling you, I've done it. I mean, earlier in my parenting, you know, after my husband left, and I was raising my 2 children, and I felt like, because his side of the family thought that I couldn't do it, because I was working all the time and he was kind of in the house being the babysitter. So I was, you know, always, I really didn't want to be in the house. So I was always doing something, right? So once he left, his mom really said that I wasn't going to be successful as a mom. And part of that is because I was in and out of foster care. I was home. Like, she knew my story. So she thought I didn't have what it took to be a mother, right? And that really weighed on me, because I was like, oh, I'm going to prove her wrong. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure this. I'm going to make sure that. And I literally poured all this stuff into parenting. Then 2 years later, you know, 2 years later, my sister had died. So then I became a mom of 4, right? And I'm still like, listen, y'all think I can't do this? I got 4 kids. I'm a single mom. I'm doing this thing. You know, I got a career, all this stuff. And I thought that I had to show up for them so much where I didn't show up for myself, right? You know, I get into that. And my pride was so, like, because I didn't want to appear as a failure. Because I felt like growing up, I was fumbled. So I didn't want to fumble my kids. Right. And I felt like they needed, you know, they were already dealing with life situations that I need to show up all the time for them. And I didn't feel like I can trust people to pour into my kids what I can pour into. So it was part of me being prideful. Like, look, I don't need no help from nobody. Listen, I'm going to make it. I seen single moms out here and this will make it, right? Part of it was that. And then the other part is like, do I really trust somebody with my children? So there's a 2 parts to that. A lot of we parent out of fear. There was a fearful parent. It was like the pride and fear had kicked in, which 2 things that God doesn't like. Right? Yeah. But it was real life. So I do understand why people don't want to tap into because of pride, but we got to get out of ourselves and say, listen, it's me standing in need of help, like cool. And I did it for years and years and years and was burnt out, became unhealthy, became sick,
right?
Because I was doing so much for my children where I wasn't getting the rest. I wasn't eating well for myself. I was feeding them well, but I wasn't doing it for myself because I felt like I had to be the superhero in their life. Right. And I think sometimes in parenting, married or single, we think that we're supposed to be a superhero.
Yeah.
We think that these characters on TV, we're supposed to show up in real life to our kids. Listen, that's TV. They get paid to do that.
You hear me? Don't play with me.
They get paid to do that. Listen,
I'll tell to her real quick. She be like, it's like she knows. Like, I take a certain breath. She like, you need a moment. I need a moment. I need you to back up and give me my moment so I can collect my thoughts.
Listen, these movies, they got crash dummies. They got all that. I ain't no crash dummy. I'm about to crash and we don't we don't get this together. Okay, you gonna see a crash for real?
No, seriously. And then they sit there and look like, what's wrong with you?
Like you got 20 hits. You probably did appear to have 20 hits in that second, like, you know. But
man,
it's so important to really think back. But I feel bad for the children and even the mom. And I'm hoping, my hope and my prayer is actually, although these children were taken away from their mom, and she's going to go to jail because, I mean, that's neglect. And that is emotional abuse. Right?
Yeah.
Although this has happened to her, my prayer and my hope is that someone reaches out to her and teach her how to pray. Because even though she's doing time, when she get out, she still has to rehabilitate, right? And she still has to, she may not be a bad mom.
And is this the first time she's done it?
Yeah, it's a lot of questions.
You know, but, I touch and agree with what you said. Prayers for those children and this situation and environment they're in now, the things that they may endure and don't know how to voice out.
Right.
I hope that someone's really there to hear them, because it's no telling what else they've been going through, especially the 8-year-old.
Man,
no telling the weight that has been on him with him being older. I don't know if like the mother even suffers from something.
Right.
To think that was okay, because even like we said, we go back to generations, but now you're an adult.
Yeah.
So at some point, you got to know that some things are okay and some things are not. And you chose, it's no excuses. You chose A over B. And now you got C.
C, D, E, F, G. Yeah. But I still think, like, even though, and this is why it's so important, like, we always say that we're not responsible for how we were raised, but we're responsible for how we raised ourselves.
Yes.
And it's still very difficult when you have a particular mindset, right? Like, this is why parents need healing, man. I'm telling you, this is why healing is so important for ourselves, because we are going to damage our children if we don't get this right. Now, I understand you could be getting yourself right and parenting, because, you realize that some things just jacked up. You ain't going to be doing that, right? But then you really have to take that responsibility. But I hope that she gets rehab, because I don't want children to be taken away from their parents because of a mistake or a way that they just perceive the whole parenting thing wrong.
Right.
Like, can we teach them? Like, I'm not all for separating families. I want our kids, and we're going to get into that, to be safe, seen, secure, and stuff. At the same time, I don't think the answer is always snatching kids and somebody else become the superhero in their life and raising these kids. I think that parental rehab, we got to rehab the parents so that they get an understanding and a loving. I tell everybody the story. When I first became a parent, I didn't want to be a mom. The first 2 years, my husband took care of my daughter. I did everything I was supposed to do as a parent, but I was not emotionally attached to this child. The first 2 years. So this is how I know that even if you didn't want to be a parent and you have some emotional stuff, at some point, something clicks. And you got to be like, listen, I need to be able to do it. And that's how I was able to change my life into parenting. And I love and enjoy parenting. And one of the reasons why I didn't want to be a parent, though, is because I didn't want to fumble my child, my children, like I was fumbled. It was fear, right? So I think sometimes that's what happens. Some people, don't want to be parents, even though you engage in this act and stuff.
Right.
But some people just aren't ready to be there or take the time and invest into that. So, I'm always like not trying to save somebody, but I'm just saying I do understand the dynamics behind why people do what they do.
Right.
Not to give them an excuse and not to give them a pass, but how do we help? Like, this happened. This bad. You out in the sea.
And like you said, how do we help? But what kind of help do people want? Because there's so many resources out here now. So that's why I'm like, the excuse thing is kind of like
flag on the play. There's too much help.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to get the help, or you haven't been accustomed to asking for help, like we said, the pride, or or being ashamed, like being ashamed of. They said that they like the house. My house be a mess too. So listen, the cops coming there today. Let me say today. No, they good today. But listen, sometimes because I feel like the cops sometimes when I come in the house. Why my house got to look like this? I'm calling the people on myself. My parenting is weak.
You could put that dish in the sink.
Like, listen, why is water? Like my parenting is on a weekend a day. Somebody send me a rescue. So I'm not gonna get mad that people's house are a certain way again, because if you're doing it by yourself and it gets hard, I get it. But they were saying that it's really bad. But sometimes people blow things out. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, sometimes any given day, hey, I don't know, you might go call people with me, and I got teenagers and an adult in there now. But it gets real. So I'll be so confused. I'll be like, you know what? My parenting skills is weak today. I'm going to need somebody to come in and assist me.
That would be amazing.
Because this right here, this ain't working out. I done drove 4 hours home.
Somebody come do something.
Listen, what they eat for dinner? Air tonight. I'm about mad right now.
Let me tell you. I remember my dad used to say that to us. We'd be like, we hungry. He'd be like, okay, what's up, hungry? Come on, stop playing. What we eating? Like an air pie? Open your mouth. He used to do this thing to be so he used to be so smart. Like, I asked y'all to do stuff, it's a problem. Oh, y'all hungry there? Come on. He used to put us in the car, right? We'll go for a ride. He'd be like, I'm about to let the windows down. Y'all ready? We'd be like, yeah. He did this all the time, and we still would fall for it. He would put the windows down. He'd be like, oh my gosh, put your arms out. Put your arms out. We putting our arms out. He open your mouth. And we always fell for it. And I'm like, Dad, you better stop doing that. I'm going to tell Mommy.
Calling the people, well, you give me air sandwiches. Where the people at when I need them?
He be like, that'll get y'all right, won't it?
Yeah, that'll straighten you up with your stuff.
Make sure my house clean.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. I feel bad for the young lady and all the other young people who are, dealing with, young or old, like who are dealing with a lot of stuff at parenting. So we want to talk about, I got my little notes thing here. The power of showing up for ourselves and our children. Because if we take that situation, Mom could have just been like, I'm showing up for myself. Because we tell them to show up for themselves, right? How do we show up for ourselves without jeopardizing our parenting or putting our children in harm's way? Like neglect, emotional neglect, physical neglect. How do we show up for ourselves in a manner of which it doesn't harm our children?
You got to be intentional about setting that time aside.
Yeah.
So, like, how we make time to hang out with the girls or the guys, make time for, our hair, our nails, whatever it may be, the gym, make that time for just you.
Right.
To decompress, because if you think about it, like, even this, like, I'm hearing, like, the soft air. I had to hit, like, a couple people up, like, what's the soft air?
wait, what's the soft air? I don't know about
so it's, like, doing things that are soft, like, doing things for yourself. It's almost like, to me, it kind of sounds like self-care.
I was going to say, it sounds like self-care.
I know a lot of females say, oh, I've been hard, or I beat myself up a lot because I'm not where I want to be or doing what I want to do. But pretty much, to me, it sounds like self-care, but you get so caught up. Everybody's self-care is different.
Right.
Some people consider, going to get massages, waxing, hair done, nails done, self-care, where others are like, no, me taking a walk and me looking at the water or just doing something I don't get to do on a day-to-day basis, that's self-care to me. which to me, that's self-care.
Yeah.
You know, like you should keep up on your hygiene. You should keep yourself groomed. You know, why wouldn't you want to? I mean, some don't prefer to, and to each his own. But to me, it's like being intentional about setting that time aside where I'm going to do nothing.
Right.
Whether it's sit in the car. When I get off of work on Thursdays, I'm going to sit in the car from 5 to 5:30 and just sit there.
Yeah.
Not think about work, not think about the house, not think about nothing.
Yeah.
And that's your time, whether it's once a month, once a week, but being intentional about setting that time. That way, you know, you could communicate with whoever helps you, or if you know your kids got to be at school at a certain time, see if you can get them in the after-school program on Thursdays.
Right. I think being intentional is what you said. Like, all that is really being intentional, planning. And I think a lot of times we hear, I ain't got time. But really, if you take your schedule, like, you know, I'm big on schedules, y'all. Everything is an hour by hour on my schedule. If we really take our time and really map out our day, you can find time to do things. Like, you got time to be on the phone, you got time to watch TV, and I feel like even sometimes self-care is TV. Like, I don't prefer that. I prefer something else, like adult coloring.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But whatever it is, you have to take that time to show up for yourself. And I think sometimes in parenting, we miss that part because we're so busy trying to be the best, do the best for the best.
And it's like, really, who are you in competition with? What and who are you competing against? Like, me and Tor, one of our things to take care of ourselves is the library. Tor loves books, and I like to read, but to me, I enjoy just watching her, seeing the thousands of books, and it's like, I can take this, I can look at it now, I can go put it back on the shelf, or I could throw it in the bin, they'll put it back. I could go color, I could go get on the computer. She could do so many different things that are all in her lane. I just enjoy watching her have that freedom. At this age, she's networking. She's meeting children. They're discussing the different kind of papers at the different libraries, because we don't just go to one library.
Right.
They talk about the different programs they have. You know what? I think your mom should bring you. Mom, what's that library? Route 9 or Kirkwood Highway or the Bear Library or Brandywine. She's like, Mom, which one is the one that has this? See if we can go on Wednesday, because we go on Wednesday.
So she make her own schedule now. Like, that's what I'm saying.
And she enjoys it, and it's just, it's no structure. I'm not saying it's not any structure, because at the library, you do have to do certain things. But in this area for the children, they can have their voice. They
free to explore.
Yes.
Figure out who they are. I think so long in parenting, we based on how we've been raised, we've been taught how to dictate or dominate our children. Like, this is what I want you to do. This is who I want you to be. And if it's not, this is not acceptable to me in my house. You know what I mean? So our children has been raised to not think for themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this time, this age, we have to raise our children to think for ourselves. And one of the ways of doing that is we think for ourselves, for our own selves. Like, we model what they need to see.
Yes.
Like, because I can tell you all day, listen, you're bright, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're cute. But if me as a mother or a father don't show you that in the household, or don't even think about that for myself, Mom, you so pretty, and you like, no, I'm not cute. Like, just those little subtle things that you think of yourself, and it comes out while you're parenting. So you're telling your kid that they're beautiful, and they're like, Mom, you beautiful, or Dad, you handsome. You like, no, I'm not, I got this. You start naming all your flaws, and then they start to take on that behavior. So when they look in the mirror, they like, oh man, I got this. I'm not, well, you said I'm beautiful, but then I got this going on. Like, you start having a complex. It's crazy. Like, I'm telling you, I've seen it. Like, we've done that, because it's like, we telling our kids so much stuff, right? But yet we cannot demonstrate it or exemplify exactly who we need to be. Can we show up? And when I talk about showing up as a parent, this is what I'm talking about, showing up.
Oh, let me tell you. So something we do cool now is, of course, we pray in the mornings on the way to drop a tour off to school. And And my husband and my daughter started this thing like, you're strong and fearless. Like, he always would tell her that. He calls her princess, and then you're strong and fearless. So, okay, we affirming her. But Tor, how do you see yourself? Mm-hmm. I know mommy and daddy tell you you're beautiful, you're pretty, you're this, you're that. But how do you see yourself? She said, "Oh, I'm a child of God. I'm blessed. Oh, I'm loved." So she gets to going. So we do that in the morning now, right? So we had a situation. Tor had a little bully situation going on. Mm-hmm. So this is me showing up for my kid too. So I realized and I identified that the little girl who was doing this act wasn't just doing it to my daughter. Mm-hmm. She was doing it to other children. And I realized the children that she was doing it with, all their parents show up for them. Mm. And they don't just show up, "Oh, I'm dropping you off at school." Right. And sending you in the classroom, you taking your stuff off. No. We walking in, we greeting the teachers, we may speak to the other children, helping our children take their jackets off, their book bags up. You need this, you need that, kissing them, whatever. Her parent, come on, we gotta go, we gotta go. She's always getting rushed. So it was more of an envious and jealousy. It was a spirit on that little girl. And I had to grab her one day. Don't put your hands on my child. Do not. Because I may have to wait for your mom. Yeah, I may. Please do not do that, okay? And the teachers are like, you know what? It shouldn't even have came to this. No, it shouldn't have. Because you guys should have identified this already, number one. And now we need to see some resources that we can get mom.
Yes, that part right there. Resources so we can get mom.
Because now this is affecting my child and my home. I don't teach my daughter to be a fighter. I don't teach her to be nasty and disrespectful. But now she's going into this zone where I got to figure out how to defend myself because it's not about to keep happening. I don't experience this. I don't experience it at home, at church, at the stores, at the parks. Right. So why is this going on at school where I have to be majority of the week?
Right. Yo, you just made a good point. So, wow. So, one, I think to recognize, and then we talk about this emotional piece too, of how to show up emotionally and physically for our kids, being in tune with them, right? I'm going to flip the page because that's on the next page, right? Being in tune with them so you recognize the issue, but you didn't, I feel like from what I'm hearing is like you didn't go in and go off and saying this, that, and the other. You really assess the situation and try to figure out why is this happening.
Right.
Because a lot of times kids show, like we don't know what happens in the backdrop at home, right? And they come to school and either a lot of times kids are being bullied by parents or kids are being abandoned or rejected by parents. So when they show up in school, they show up a different way than they are at home. And I think and that's why it's so important for teachers to be like, it really takes a village and parent and teachers have to work together. Because if a teacher recognizes this type of behavior and if someone else has come to you about this behavior, like let's tap into home now. Mm-hmm. Now they might have had a conversation with mom and it might not went so well, but how do we give resources? Because there's not there's not a perfect parent. You know, there are situations that cause us to parent differently. But I also thought about this when you said that, Pam. The boy when Jesus fed the 5,000, right? Mm-hmm. And 2 loaves of bread, 5 fish, right? 5 fish, 2 loaves of bread. Yeah, something, whatever.
You got it.
Yeah, 2 loaves of bread, 5 fish, right? The only way he was able to do that was because what was packed in a young boy's lunch. Right. The mom packed her son's lunch that day, right? So I thought about how are we packing our children so that when they enter in the world, they can be assist to someone else.
Literally. Because after that situation, now we don't just affirm, but now we're saying, what kind of people do we look out for? Yes. Today we're gonna look out for people who are mean, people who look like they're hurting, people who look like they're sad, and then now we're gonna fill it with peace, with joy, with love. So we're not just gonna be looking out for these things, but when we look out for them, these are the things we're gonna say when we see them.
Right. We live in such a world where we're teaching our kids violence is the way. Yes. Or you show up. Somebody do something to you, you got to do something back. You got to defend yourself. You got to be. It's like we're trying to raise these hardcore kids, and then they become hardcore adults, and then they end up in jail or dead. I'm just saying. So really,
but then some of them are hardcore towards you.
Yeah.
Like my cousin's in law enforcement, and he deals with all that kind of stuff. Even my mom, I remember when she was in law enforcement, you raising these children to be hard, and now they putting their hands on you.
Yeah, really. Absolutely. So I think, really trying to get to the parents is core, because parents are the first teachers, the first cheerleaders. Parents are everything.
Yes.
And we see so much we see what not to do, and we see what to do. So it's so important for us to show up. So one of the things that, I had wrote here is what children need from us mostly is to show up. Now, what does showing up look like? We just said in different ways. So with your daughter seeing you go to school and having her back, but in a respectful and an honorable way, where she don't feel like when somebody mess with her, she got to turn up. Because mom didn't come up to the school to turn up. Mom came up to the school to figure out a solution.
Right. No, let's be honest.
Oh, you turned up?
I
Hold on the flag. Wait, but how did Tori see you turn up?
Yeah, because what happened is one day my baby told me, you don't have to stay at school. I do. Because I said, why don't you just stand up to her? Because I didn't think it was that deep. So she voiced it at home one day, and I'm like, well, why don't you just stand up to her? Like, tell her, don't put your hands on me or don't do this. Right. She's like, okay. Then the next day, I drop off. She basically like, I don't want to go to class. Girl, you going to class. I don't want to go to class. You going to class. And she looks me in my eyes and tells me, you don't got to stay here. I do.
Oh, wow.
So I was ready to turn up right then and there. No, I left and I pondered and I came back. And when I went on the playground that day, I wanted to like grip her. But it was like, lay hands. Just lay hands. Don't do that, sweetheart. Right. And then she looks me in my eyes. Do you know what this little girl said to me?
I can't imagine.
Not like get off of me or anything. She said, can you be my auntie?
Wow.
I was like, pause. What just happened here?
So you ready to turn up on a kid. And they just need some love. They just need love and nurture and show that they care. Because you said that everybody else parents shows up for their children, and her mom rushes her, pretty much make her feel that she's invaluable.
On field trips, you seeing grandparents come, aunts and uncles, moms and dads. And then with her, it's just always her. She got to stay with the teacher.
Oh, man, that is such...
And so I'm like, wow, I don't know how that feels. I can't empathize or sympathize with her because my parents always made sure somebody was at the trip. Yeah, I used to want my mom or dad to be there, but they made sure somebody was there.
Yeah, the village.
And so when I see that, I'm like, wow, this little girl is hurting.
And that's what's going on. A lot of kids are hurting, and adults aren't recognizing, and we're blaming these kids and we're snapping on these kids for their behavior, but not understanding there's a root cause, right? The root. Yep. What is the root? Because if the root is rotten, the fruit is going to be rotten. Period. There's like there's no in between. Oh, that fruit looks a little good. Oh, that fruit might taste a little good. No, it's jacked up. Mm-hmm. So we have to really, as parents, be conscious of how we're showing up in the lives of our children.
Intentional and conscious.
Yeah, like I think for like so long we live on autopilot living. Like everything is on autopilot. Like And I understand that we build habits and stuff where it becomes second nature and we don't think about it. But how about those bad habits that become second nature and we don't think about it? Like the effect of those things. Just like good habits have effects, so does bad habits. And I think that if we don't begin to recognize these ailments within ourselves, it's going to spill over to our kids. Mm-hmm. Right. So when we were talking about, you said something. Because kids want to be safe, seen, soothed, and secure.
Yes.
Right? I just thought about what you said about Tor saw you be her safe haven. Mm-hmm. she felt like she can finally have the conversation with you, and then you show up and not wreck shop like you wanted to, but you seen a greater need, and now she knows that whenever she comes to you, she's safe.
She said, "Mom, you got my back."
See?
I was like, "What?" She was like, "You got my back." I was like, "But what I always tell you," she was like, "I know, Mom, but on the playground today, you had my back." Like, it wasn't just words. You put action behind those words, and it's just like the same with my husband. Like, oh, you tell your kid, "I love you," or this and that, and when she always can identify it, that's what we love. Like, when she comes back, "No, you did this. This is how I know you love me." Like, I tell her all the time, Tor, why mommy love you? How you know mommy love you? Because sometimes I be like, "I love you, Tor." She be like, "I know." I be like, "How you know?"
Right.
She was like, "Mommy, because you always there for me. Mommy, you make sure I got my clothes. Mommy, you get up in the morning, you get me up, and I be being mean sometimes." Like, she can identify with this. This is showing love to me. This is showing that you care about me.
Healthy love. That is so important because, sometimes for some people, love and hurt is always in the same sentence, right?
Yes.
You love me, but you're hurting me constantly. But even showing, I feel like, because that's one of the things that on here when I says discipline through connections, right? Yeah. So our job as parents, because
I like that.
I'm big on y'all better stop whooping these kids situations, right? Everybody know men. Like, listen, come on, like. But what I thought about is over the years, I kind of think about like, what is the goal in discipline, right? What is the goal? Because when we show up for our kids, we're not just showing up to give them everything that we think that they want, right? We're giving them things that we need, and that requires some discipline and structure, right?
Oh, this is good. So tell me if I did this right then, Donna.
Okay.
We at the store getting my niece's birthday gift. And Victoria was like, "Oh, Mommy, this is really nice." And I was like, "Okay, is it nice for you or Dally Poo?" She was like, "Mom, it was for me." So I'm like, she was like, "I know, we're not here for me. We're here for Dally Poo." But after we get Dally Poo stuff, do you think we can get? I said to her, she said, "Okay, Mom." She said, "Mom, I just wanted to know, what you getting yourself something?" I said, "No, I am not, because I'm not here for me." She said, "Okay." So she did so good with helping picking out the gifts, even the gift bag. And she was like, "Mom, let's get her one more other thing. I want to get her 3 things." I'm like, "Okay, she's very good with gifts too. I want to get her 3 things." She was like, "I think she's going to love this one." I'm like, "Okay." She was like, "Because she won the phone, but I'm married, ain't getting her no phone. But she going to love this because it's almost like real." I said, "Okay, we get it." We get in the line. She loved these little eggs. It's the, when you open them, it got a toy surprise. And then that little, okay. They had a 3-pack. They had a 3-pack for the price of 1. Oh, I grabbed them for my baby. So she ain't see it. She was like, "Mom, I really came to the store and I ain't getting nothing." I said, "Nope." I said, "Because we don't always have to get stuff." Right? And I want you to know that to her. Every time we come to her, we got a plan. We got to stick to it. So when we in the line, I gave it to the lady. She was like, "You got those for Pill? That was so nice. And I love them. But it's okay," right? So we get in the car. I said, "These for you, Tor." She said, "Mom, you the best."
Right.
And she was like, "But Mom, why did you give them for me?" And I was like, "Because you're really learning and understanding that every time we come to the store, if we have a plan, even if it's not for you, you're okay with that." I saw it today. You're okay with that. When I said this is for Pooh, you were okay with that. You didn't get upset. You didn't get nasty. You didn't throw a tantrum or anything. We went about our business.
Yeah, I think
kind of connected.
Yeah, it is. It's connected because what I love about it is that the fact that the way that you told her, which I know you and your personality, you ain't snap on her. I said you ain't getting nothing out this store.
Right.
Because I see it all the time in the store, Pam. Like, people be going off. I said before you came in this store, don't ask me for nothing. Listen, I used to do with my kids all the time. Be like, "Listen, I always got a plan. Listen, you got 4 of them. You trying to go in the store."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Listen here. Everybody gets 3 things. That's it. Nothing more. If you want less, that's okay." I made that plan before we get in the store, because what we not going to be doing is having a bunch of people in my ear. Trying to focus. So I think that was good because it taught her that through her obedience, there's a reward.
That's Bible.
Yeah. Through her obedience, there was a reward. So you were able to connect with her in such a way where she was able to obey and trust what you're telling her.
Yes.
And then there was a reward at the end. Yes. So that's connection. So when I talk about like discipline through connections, how do we connect with our kids? Because discipline is not meant for punishment. It's for teaching.
Yeah. Say that again.
Discipline isn't meant for punishment. It's for teaching. For so long, we've been taught that you did this, so I'm going to do this. But then where's the lesson in that? Now, depends on how you have to discipline, but it should never be in such an angry mode because you did this, now I'm going to do that, but I don't teach you why am I doing that. And the other thing is that if I never taught you at first, how can I discipline? How can I punish you? How can I punish you for something I never taught you?
Because what our parents used to do.
Right. So when we talk about showing up for our kids, show up in that way. How about teach them so that because here's the thing. This is how teaching works. You study. Right? Yes. You get a test and you get a result. Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm teaching you and I'm showing you study techniques and stuff, I'm teaching you prior to the act, then you go and do something outside of the teaching, there's a consequence. With this consequence, it's going to teach you, reteach you, because you don't pass the test, you got to go do it again, right? It's going to repeat. So now I'm reintroducing this concept of what should be done. So not only am I disciplining you because you really got out of the teaching mode, you got out of the learning mode. Your learning wasn't application. Like you didn't apply what you were being taught.
Heard, but you ain't do it.
You ain't do it, right? So now my approach is different.
Right.
Because you have a lack of understanding of why you need to apply these principles to this. So now I'm teaching you, I'm reteaching you, retraining you because there was a hiccup. So it's not to harm you.
Yeah.
It's not to, we look at punishment and stuff so aggressive and things like that. I mean, parents do got to kick their kids' butt sometimes. Like, I understand that. I've been 25 years in here now, so I do understand that sometimes you got to pop.
Right.
But I'm so much more of trying to get you to understand. And the way that we get our kids to understand is through connection. So that's why I say discipline through connection. As we continue to have the conversation, as I'm teaching you, we're having a relationship. This is not just do as I say, do as I do.
Right. And as the child gets older, you have to relearn your child too.
Man.
So the same as the test for the child, we have to do assessment. Man. That's just like in basketball, practicing your layup. So their discipline, like you said, they make a connection. You went wrong when you dribbled the ball too many times.
Right. Now you're walking.
Okay. So like you said, assessing the situation. Okay. I saw when we in this environment, you handle this like this.
Right.
But when we're in this environment, you're doing this. Why is that?
Yes. Ask questions. Evaluate. Like, I think for so long, we are so geared to do, and not reevaluate. Like, I gotta cook dinner. I gotta provide. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Meanwhile, I ain't doing nothing for myself. Remember, I gotta. And then because I'm not doing anything for myself, I'm not showing up for myself. At a time where I need to show up for my kids, I cannot because I'm so overwhelmed because I haven't shown up for myself. I don't really know how to.
Right.
So then our children start to be model that behavior and learn that behavior. And then we get kids who becomes bullies or hide away or secluded. Like, we get all these emotional things. So showing up on every level for ourselves allows us to show up on every level for our children.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because sometimes I tell you, parents and but a lot of times, if we just take a moment, and it seems like we don't think that we have that right to take a moment. Listen, take a deep breath. Woo, sa, sa, sa. Like,
literally.
Because
three deep breaths do you something good and you don't even know it.
And for real, because I'm telling you some stuff. I know back in the day, now that my kids are older, thank you, Lord. But when they were younger, I tell you, Pam, my kids, if I had, especially Donna, she come on here. That's the one that tests my inner gangster. She come on here. She'll straight up and tell you, like, I had all these sayings. If we're out in the store, whatever, and they start cutting up, smarten up. I mean, you got to get your brain cells together because what we ain't doing is this, right? I do smarten up. I don't scream out and yell at you, smarten up. You know what that means. Or we're around the house, be like, I'm overstimulated. I told if people used to laugh and joke and stuff, like, because when they hear me talking to my kids, I'm like, listen, I'm overstimulated. And they be like, how you get overstimulated from your kids? Listen, it's too many things going on at the same time. Like, I'm really I'm not going to walk around and say, I'm overwhelmed. You're overwhelming. No, I'm overstimulated because that's truly what it is. Like, you're stimulating too many neurons in my brain. So they know if I say I'm overstimulated, they chill back. Or if they know that I'm upset and I'm trying to calm down, Jesus on the main line. Lord, I'm calling you up and I'm telling you what I want. I will walk around that house even to this day. I'd be like, I'm calling you up. Or I'd be like, Lord, these your kids. Tell me just like you told Moses how to handle them children. Right. And I say it. I be so loud around my house. Like, my kids know all my sayings. And they really understand of how to behave that way because I'm not going off on them like, I be calling God.
That's who going to help.
That's the only thing. So I think, and even in that, I think it was teaching them how to not pop off. Because calling where your help come from. Lord, I need you right now because right now, this ain't going to work out for the best of us. So, or also allowing yourself to take a moment. If your children see you take a moment, I tell this story all the time. The one that tests my inner gangster, because how I was raised and because I was such a parent out of fear or so aggressive in my parents and that I didn't understand what she said she needed a break when she came home from school. Because in my mind, I'm like, what you mean? You was on the school bus for 40 minutes. That's your break. But there's other people on the bus. There's a lot of stuff going on. And she would come in the house and every day she'd be like, I need a break before I clean up. I'm like, why? Like, my son gonna say, what's this, slavery? Like, now he talk when you talk about stuff like that, right? Now Josh talk when you talk about that. He gonna say, Mom, you gotta think about this. Like,
right.
We can't have no break.
We just had a full day.
We had a full day fighting all those things that goes on outside because a lot of our children are fighting a lot of things outside of our door. So when they come home, they just want to take a break. And I feel like the reason why a lot of parents don't get that our kids need break is because we don't give ourselves break. So when we talk about showing up for ourselves, give yourself a break.
That 30 minutes in the car.
Yeah, listen.
Even 15.
Listen, you know what, right? I need a moment. So now I appreciate, though, the moments because of my daughter showed me. She showed me why she needs those moments. And I was like, oh, I need a moment. I can have a moment? I was like, oh, I can have a moment too? Right. I'm taking my moment like, oh, you don't pay no bills around here. You get moments. Oh, I'm going to get some moments too.
I need 3.
Let me say, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going on a cruise.
I ain't messing with you.
I'm going on a cruise. What you going to do is let these cameras babysit you today.
Okay. Oh, man.
I'm done with the cruise situation. I'm so done with the cameras watching the kids these days. I said, one of the things I wrote, because I talked about empathy and connection or whatever, and I said, by showing up and being present teaches our children empathy by the way we model it, right? It nurtures the child's ability to connect with others and develop healthy relationships themselves.
Yes.
Healthy relationship. Parents, we're the key that unlocks doors to relationships. So if we teach our children how to have a healthy relationship by modeling it, and not just modeling it to while I'm here, model it everywhere. Because, a lot of times we hear our kids say, oh, you act one way this, or you act this around somebody else. If we truly are consistent in modeling this behavior, it really teaches our children not to be Dr. Hyde and Jekyll or whatever. What the old people say? Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So you can tell, them older folks would say Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I didn't understand that, but now I do, right? Where you wishy-washy, you up and down, you're unstable. And if we really want to teach our kids stability in their emotions and how to really connect with their emotions, we have to show that. And I think by really taking a moment and showing up for ourselves, we can better show up for our kids and teach our kids how to show up for themselves. Like the fact that your daughter came to you and said, listen, this ain't going well at school, this situation. And listen, you ain't got to deal with this every day, but I got to show up at the playground every day, so you can talk what you want to talk.
We're going to have to figure this out.
I got to live this thing. You don't understand what goes on in these streets now. But I think just being able to have that connection and be able to communicate in that relationship really affords our children to be open and honest and not ashamed, because sometimes, our kids, I think that if we're ashamed, our children are going to end up being ashamed about something, I used to be real strong about, not so much more now. Well, I kind of do a little bit. I get a little irritated with it. I'm going to be on Front Street today. Growing up, see, Tora's still young, right? So you don't have this yet. But I'm gonna tell you what happens when they get a little older. And gratefully, yours won't do that. But I was able to pick out their clothes, make sure their teeth is brushed, do everything for them, right? Your appearance as well, because I appear well. Your appearance as well, your hygiene is on point, all these things. And now that they're teenagers, it's a little different. And I get frustrated. Why are you showing up like that? I'm all about, I can't stand when a parent look like they got it all together and their kids look like they just came out the back alley.
Tora not letting that go down.
Yeah, I don't like that. And when my kids were younger, it was so much easier to be able to do it. But I realized now that they're 16, 18, I just be like, we couldn't put an iron to that. Because now I don't do it for them.
Right.
So one of my daughters said to me, she said, think about this, the 18-year-old now, Miss, philosopher. She said to me, think about this. I don't think you taught us how to.
Because you did it
for us. I said, what you mean? Didn't y'all watch? But
wow.
Yes, she said, you've done everything for us. And now that we're older, we don't know how to do it.
Hey, we just going with the flow.
I'm like, what? What's going on?
Get a shirt and some pants.
So, yeah, and I'm like, but do you still see me take care of myself? She said, yes, but you didn't teach me that. And that was a wow moment for me, because I'm thinking, listen, I'm teaching you this, that, and the other, but no, I'm doing for you.
Right.
And as parents, when we talk about showing up, how are we showing up? A lot of times we want to be the superheroes in our children's life. We want to do so that they don't have to. But what is the harm for them doing for themselves?
Right. Back to asking those questions. Yeah. Back to that intentional work.
Yeah. We want to, a lot of us grew up where we had to like a scarcity mindset, right? Or we didn't like how we were parents. When I get older, I ain't gonna do this to my kids or whatever. I don't want my kids to go through what I went through, but some of the stuff wasn't as bad as we make it seem now that I'm an adult. It might have been bad back in the day, but doing everything for them does not offer structure, right? Mm-hmm. Because we talk about structure and how do we want our children to show up in the world. But if we don't teach them at home how to show up at home, they can't show up in the world. And I don't think any parent intentionally say, listen, I'm going to do everything for you, so you ain't never got to do nothing in your life. It's, I want to make your life easier. But Denzel Washington has a quote, easy is a greater burden to society than hardship. Now, I'm not saying make your kids raise themselves with a video camera while I'm out in the sea. But what I'm saying is that we can't make stuff so easy where they don't have to learn and to put that work in for themselves. Mm-hmm. Because you and I both know doing the work helps us learn better. Right? Kinetically. If we touch stuff, we do stuff better. So, just showing up in multiple ways within ourselves allows us to show up to a new dimension, as we were talking about Bible study last night, to another, in every dimension.
Yes.
Of our children.
Taking them with you when you're doing new stuff and exploring new things.
Yeah. Really.
Them kids could have went on that cruise.
You still back to the cruise? Them kids. Listen, the kids could have went on, I don't know, maybe she was trying to get away from the kids. Like, I just don't know, because there's times I'd be like, listen, somebody else.
I'm telling you, on the cruise ships, you don't have to even be with your kids.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on with her, but I'm just hoping. But for any parents out there,
don't do it.
Don't do it. If you need help, I think it's really important to tap into it. You know what? Earlier in my parenting, I didn't. Of course, I had that pride issue, or whatever. But when I was working and I needed somebody to take care of my kids, I had no one to take care of my kids. I hired somebody. Like, I hired. It was called. My son told me that. He was like, "Mom, go to, what did he say? Kids.com or something like that." I forgot the name of the kidscare.com, something like that. There was it's a website where it's like certified child care centers. They certify CPR. They cost a little arm and a leg, but you know that they're going to be taking care of your child. And I was blessed enough to have a young lady who was a Christian, and she was a college student. So she would come. I would work overnight, so she would come and take care of my kids for me, because I couldn't leave them in a house by themselves while I'm working overnight. You know, parents still got to work. So I think if you don't have the village that everybody needs, tap into someone that you know that you can trust, or even if you got to go onto, a website that is safe, secure, it's background check. These people have background checks and everything.
ABC Nanny is like that. They go through drug screenings.
All that. There's so many things that we don't have to leave our kids in, and it's different ranges of pay rate, right? It really, but based on what you need. They even have people come in there cleaning up. I got you. Come in there cleaning up and everything. So what do you want to leave with the people? Because, our time is running near.
When thinking about showing up for your children, make sure that you show up for yourself. Be intentional about everything that you're doing, your decision making, your choice making, and go from there.
Yeah. So thank you, Pam, for joining us again, which we'll be back, because I'm kind of feeling this with this co-host situation.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like we got something going on here. I feel like we laugh most of the time, but it's real. So thank you for joining Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janel. We thank you for our guest, Pam, coming on, talking about showing up for ourselves so that we then can show up for our children. It's so important to make sure that we are connected with our children at every area of their life, emotionally, physically, financially, not just providing for our kids food, clothes, and shelter, but really attending to their emotional needs as well. So join us next week again on Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janel.